The Trinidad expresses selective outrage when double standards masquerade as editorial integrity. An editorial by Professor Wall Street, exposing the deceitful and disingenuous treatment of ORTT awards. The Trinidad Express's recent editorial, Resetting the National Awards, represents journalistic hypocrisy at its finest. Their sudden concern about Dr. Selwyn Cudjoe's ORTT award contrasts sharply with their celebratory coverage of Dr. Wayne Frederick's identical honor under the PNM government. This double standard exposes partisan bias disguised as editorial principle. When Dr. Wayne Frederick received the ORTT in 2022, the Express published straightforward news coverage without questioning political motivations or process concerns. Yet when Dr. Selwyn Cudjoe, a scholar with 25 published books, received the same honor under Prime Minister Persad Bissessar, suddenly the Express discovers concerns about political influence and calls for resetting the awards process. This isn't journalism, it's partisan hackery disguised as editorial wisdom. The Express's selective application of scrutiny reveals a publication that has abandoned any pretense of consistent editorial standards in favor of transparently biased political commentary that insults the intelligence of its readers. Here are 10 reasons why the Express editorial is deceitful and disingenuous. 1. The convenient timeline of concern. The Express's sudden concern about political influence in national awards miraculously appeared only after the UNC government began conferring honors. When Dr. Wayne Frederick received his ORTT in 2022, there was no editorial calling for process reforms, no questions about prime ministerial involvement, and no concerns about the perception of worthiness. This convenient timing reveals their criticism as politically motivated rather than principled. 2. The selective scholarship standard. The Express acknowledges that Dr. Cudjoe has 25 books while praising his scholarly output as well justified, yet still questions the award's legitimacy. Compare this to their uncritical acceptance of Dr. Frederick's ORTT, where they made no comparative analysis of scholarly output or questioned whether his achievements warranted the nation's highest honor. This selective application of academic scrutiny exposes their double standard. 3. The false equivalence of political connection. The Express attempts to diminish Dr. Cudjoe's award by highlighting his political associations while ignoring that every ORTT recipient has some form of public or professional connection that could be characterized as political. They fail to examine Dr. Frederick's potential political connections or question whether his award might be seen as rewarding diaspora support for the PNM government. 4. The retroactive process critique. Remarkably, the Express calls for changing the awards process only after a UNC government begins using the same system the PNM used for decades. They showed no concern about prime ministerial influence when Dr. Rowley was making selections, but now demand Prime Minister Persad Bissessar remove her office from the process. This retroactive criticism reveals their partisan motivation. 5. The biographical assassination attempt. The Express's detailed recounting of Dr. Cudjoe's political journey, his association with the PNM, his central bank appointment, and his later support for the UNC reads like character assassination rather than balanced journalism. They made no similar biographical examination of Dr. Frederick, raising no questions about his political affiliations or potential conflicts of interest. 6. The cronyism claim inconsistency. The Express references the 2003 lawsuit against Dr. Cudjoe's central bank appointment as evidence of cronyism, yet they failed to investigate or question any potentially controversial appointments made by the P&M during their tenure. This selective interest in historical controversies exposes their partisan approach to journalism. 7. The scholarly achievement minimization. Despite acknowledging Dr. Cudjoe's extensive scholarly output, 25 books, the Express suggests his award might be seen more as an award for politics than education. This minimization of academic achievement contrasts sharply with their straightforward acceptance of Dr. Frederick's medical contributions without similar qualification or skepticism. 8. The missing context problem. The Express fails to provide context about the normal process for ORTT awards or compare the current selections to historical precedents. They offer no analysis of how many previous recipients might have had political connections or whether the current process represents any departure from established norms. This lack of context reveals their editorial as opinion disguised as analysis. 9. The diaspora double standard. Dr. Frederick, based in the United States for his career, like Dr. Cudjoe, received no criticism from the Express for his diaspora status. Yet they specifically highlight Dr. Cudjoe's US-based academic career as somehow problematic. This inconsistent treatment of diaspora achievements exposes their selective criteria for questioning award recipients. 10. The reform time in hypocrisy. The Express's call for Prime Minister Prasad Bisesar to elevate the national awards by removing her office from the process comes only after she begins using the same process every previous prime minister used. They never called for such reforms when the P&M held power, revealing their suggestion as a political trap rather than genuine reform advocacy. The Frederick standard versus the Cudjoe standard. The contrast in coverage is stark and revealing. Dr. Wayne Frederick's ORTT was reported as straightforward news. Dr. Wayne Frederick was on Monday presented with Trinidad and Tobago's highest honor. The Express listed his achievements without skepticism, provided context about his medical contributions, and raised no questions about political motivations or process concerns. Dr. Selwyn Cudjoe, despite having a more extensive publication record and clear scholarly achievements, receives an editorial that questions his worthiness, examines his political associations, and uses his honor as a launching pad for attacking the awards process itself. This differential treatment cannot be explained by journalistic standards. It can only be explained by editorial bias. The stark contrast. Dr. Frederick's coverage. Dr. Wayne Frederick was presented with Trinidad and Tobago's highest honor. Straightforward celebration without skepticism. Dr. Cudjoe's coverage, despite 25 published books, receives editorial questioning his worthiness and attacking the entire awards process. This differential treatment cannot be explained by journalistic standards, only by editorial bias. In conclusion, the death of editorial consistency. The Trinidad Express's contrasting treatment of the Frederick and Cudjoe ORTT awards represents everything wrong with partisan journalism masquerading as editorial integrity. Their failure to apply consistent standards, their selective historical memory, and their convenient timing of process criticism reveals a publication that has abandoned journalistic principles in favor of political partisanship. Dr. Selwyn Cudjoe's 25 published books and lifetime of scholarly achievement deserve the same respectful recognition the Express provided to Dr. Wayne Frederick. Their failure to provide such treatment exposes them as incapable of objective evaluation when political consideration intervene. The Express's call for resetting the national awards should begin with resetting their own editorial standards. until they can demonstrate consistent application of journalistic principles, regardless of which government is in power, their criticisms of others' integrity ring hollow. Trinidad and Tobago deserves better from its press. Journalism that holds all governments to the same standards, evaluates achievements consistently, and advocates for reforms based on principle rather than political convenience. The Express's handling of these ORTT awards proves they have failed to meet these basic standards. Their editorial represents not journalism, but partisan political commentary disguised as principled criticism. The people of Trinidad and Tobago can see through this deception, and the Express's credibility suffers accordingly. True editorial integrity requires consistency, not convenient selective outrage that coincidentally aligns with political preferences.